All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really disturbing series of accidents that all happened over one single chaotic weekend in Germany. Over just a few short days, emergency responders from the highways of Schleswig-Holstein all the way to the rural backroads of North Rhine-Westphalia were pushed to their absolute limits. And the thing is, we aren't talking about massive pileups or high-speed collisions between vehicles here. We're talking about something much more personal and honestly much more preventable.
To make sense of the chaos, here's our agenda for today. We're going to cover 1. A weekend of tragedy. 2. Cars losing control. 3. The two-wheeled danger. 4. A fatal scooter crash. 5. Why are these happening? And finally, 6. How to stay safe.
Okay, starting with Section 1. A weekend of tragedy.
So first things first, we need to talk about the Alleinunfall. Basically, this translates to a single vehicle accident. It's when a car, motorcycle, e-bike, or even a scooter just leaves the road entirely on its own, no collision with another moving vehicle involved at all. And you might be wondering, why does this really matter? Well, when you completely remove another driver from the equation, it shifts the focus entirely onto the person operating the vehicle, the condition of the machine itself, and the environmental factors at play. There's literally no one else to blame here. It's this closed-loop scenario, and as we're going to see, it often ends in absolute disaster.
Moving right along to Section 2. Cars losing control.
I want you to let this number sink in for a second. 10 meters. That is roughly the height of a 3-story building. In Paderborn-Wewer, early on a Saturday morning, a car carrying 5 young adults lost control. And it didn't just veer off the shoulder. No, it violently crashed through a barrier and plummeted 10 meters down a practically vertical slope, finally coming to this crushing halt on a disused railway line. Now, miraculously, all 5 people managed to pull themselves from the twisted metal before the fire department even got there. But the nightmare for the rescue crews? It was honestly just beginning.
This quote right here brilliantly illustrates the logistical nightmare those emergency crews were facing. The police spokesperson actually noted that standard rescue procedures had to just be thrown out the window because the embankment was so incredibly steep. They literally had to use rope teams, to haul the injured victims back up to road level. One person had internal injuries so severe they had to bring in a rescue helicopter right to the scene. The whole road was shut down for over 4 hours while forensics seized the car's black box, just trying to figure out, was this a technical failure or just reckless speed?
Now look at the stark contrast between 2 other single-car crashes from that exact same weekend. In Ennigerloh, you've got a 54-year-old driver who rolls his car multiple times into a cornfield. He actually crawls out with just minor scratches. But while his physical luck held up, his legal luck definitely ran out. Police found clear signs of drug consumption, which means he's now facing severe criminal charges for a crash that did about 6,000 euros in damage. Then, over in Merzenich, a 73-year-old simply loses control, slams into a traffic light mast, and flips into a ditch. No drugs involved, just a sudden loss of control. The result? Shock, lacerations, and a whopping 25,000 euros in damage. So the motivations and circumstances are completely different, right? But the terrifying result of the Alleinunfall is exactly the same.
Which brings us to Section 3, the two-wheeled danger.
The data here reveals just how indiscriminate this issue really is. On one hand, we have a 17-year-old in Borgstedt on a motorcycle, flying along at high speed, who just completely fails to see a roundabout. He hits the central island, gets thrown, and ends up in critical condition fighting for his life. Now contrast that with a totally different situation. We have a 74-year-old man riding a pedelec, an electric bike. He's not speeding through a roundabout. Witnesses actually said he was just distracted before colliding with a parked car. The outcome? Severe head trauma requiring an emergency airlift to a specialist clinic. So whether you're 17 on a roaring motorcycle or 74 on a quiet e-bike, a split-second lapse in focus brings the exact same devastating consequences.
Now let's look at Section 4, a fatal scooter crash.
This one is incredibly sad. Last Sunday, a 50-year-old man was found completely unconscious on a quiet path between Merton and Sectum. When the police first got there, they naturally assumed it was a hit and run. It just seemed impossible that someone could sustain such catastrophic injuries all on their own. But after days of really intense forensic investigation, the truth came out. This was a tragic, single-vehicle accident on an e-scooter. The man actually died in the hospital days later from severe brain injuries. Right now, authorities are waiting on toxicology reports and analyzing the scooter's computer memory to figure out what went wrong. Did he hit a pothole? Was it some kind of mechanical failure? We still don't know for sure. It is so absolutely critical to remember that these modern conveniences carry immense responsibility. Just listen to the senior prosecutor working this case. They said these scooters are vehicles, not toys. And they really hit the nail on the head, didn't they? It's so easy to just hop on one of these things through an app on your phone, probably without a helmet, and treat it like a fun little gadget. But the reality, both legally and physically, is that you are operating a motor vehicle on public pathways.
And that brings us to this number, 20 kilometers per hour. That is the top speed for most of these e-scooters. Now, 20 kilometers per hour might sound, incredibly slow when you're sitting inside a 2-ton steel cage driving your car. But think about it, when you're standing upright, completely exposed, balancing on a narrow little plank with tiny wheels, hitting solid pavement at that velocity without any physical protection is absolutely devastating. As we saw in Bornheim, it is easily enough to cause fatal brain trauma.
So, we really have to ask, Section 5, why are these happening?
To find the truth behind this terrifying trend, we're turning to the insights of Dr. Anna Richter, a highly respected traffic safety expert. As she points out, this isn't just some statistical anomaly or a random cluster of bad luck. We are witnessing what she calls a dangerous mix of factors. It's basically this perfect storm of modern driving habits colliding head-on with evolving vehicle technology.
Dr. Richter breaks down the psychology and the tech fueling these crashes, and it's fascinating. Counterintuitively, dry summer roads actually create a false sense of security. Drivers feel overly confident, right? So they push their speeds way higher than they normally would. Then factor in the pervasive distraction of our modern era, and we're not just talking about smartphones here, we're talking about those massive, complex infotainment screens built right into modern car dashboards. Finally, consider the shifting demographics of mobility. We're seeing a huge rise in 45 to 74-year-olds adopting e-bikes. And let's be super clear, these aren't the bicycles from their youth. These are heavy, high-speed machines, and a lot of riders are severely overestimating their own reaction times and physical abilities.
Which leads us to our final point, Section 6, how to stay safe. Based on this frankly harrowing weekend, the police are issuing some very specific, actionable warnings for everyone out on the road. Step 1, actively reduce your speed, especially when you're navigating unfamiliar roads or complex intersections like roundabouts. Step 2, absolute sobriety. Never operate any vehicle, and that emphatically includes e-scooters and e-bikes, under the influence of alcohol or drugs. As we saw in Ennigerloh, a momentary lapse can lead to serious criminal charges. And Step 3, always wear a helmet if you are on two wheels. The tragedy in Bornheim shows exactly what happens to the human skull when it meets the pavement, even at those quote-unquote low speeds.
As we wrap up this explainer and let you process the terrible tragedies that struck these families in just one single weekend, I want you to take a hard look at your own habits. Whether you're, glancing down at a touchscreen to change a song, hopping on a scooter without a helmet for a quick trip, or pushing the speed limit just because it's a clear, sunny day, ask yourself, is a single moment of distraction on your daily commute truly worth the risk of an Alleinunfall? Stay focused out there, stay safe, and please respect the road.